Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Talk, Therapy, and Heal. This week, we have a special treat for you. Come on and connect with us. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Hi, my name is Kenny King. I'm a licensed professional counselor associate, and I specialize in trauma, suicide, and marriage and family.
Hi, I'm Rachel Logan. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I specialize in inner healing and faith.
Hi, I'm Larisha Perlow, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in marital and family dynamics, trauma recovery, adjustment, and abandonment concerns.
Hello, I am Yanika Willis. I am a licensed professional counselor supervisor, and I specialize in trauma and identity issues.
Hello, my name is Shancho King. I'm a licensed professional counseling associate, and I specialize in relational issues of all kinds and breaking generational trauma curses. So today's show, what we're going to be talking about is traditional versus contemporary parenting, or better known as old school versus new school parenting. So we are about to get into this thing. Listen, as we are going into the show, don't even wait till the end to see what it's about. You should have seen it on the last two. Go ahead and push that share or whatever, get everyone on so they can learn right along with you.
Yeah. All right. So old school versus new school parenting. Traditional versus contemporary. What does that mean to y'all? Like, what do you all think? Like, how does that resonate within your spirit when you hear that?
That just goes back to all them stories you used to hear. You know, when I was older, your age, I used to have to walk to school 2 miles uphill in the snow. And now y'all got buses. It kind of reminds me of just the older way that people used to do things, and the way that the family dynamics and how we raise children has changed over time. It's not to say that maybe one way is better than the other. I think we've made adjustments to time because things are very different now. The internet, we didn't have the internet then.
Right.
Just a lot of stuff that we've had to just make transitions to.
I think about parenting styles. I think about if you got a whooping or not, right? Like this, the old school, you got whoopings, right? And it didn't matter what time it was. Your mom will wake you up. I might have
Out till
sleep.
sleep.
Yeah, okay. But new school is gentle parenting, right? It's, slow, soft voice, low tone, and just be calmly, just a totally different vibe.
Yeah, I agree.
I would even extend that thought and say, giving the kids the opportunity to make choices and decide what they want for themselves.
Yes, that's a great point. Because we definitely didn't get no choice growing up. Like, you gonna do what I say do, when I say do it, and how I say do it.
Right.
And if you give me some backlip, you gonna find yourself getting up off the floor.
Right. That is so true. And that's the thing, that's what I think as well. We knew, and I guess I'm pretty much say we're all in the same generation, but when we grew up, there was much more of respect.
Yeah.
So you did have to respect, you had to respect your elders, different things like that, which is not, I feel, a bad thing, even in this newer, in this year, or whatnot. But let's just be honest about it. There are a lot of things that was done or maybe not done when it came to parenting that is affecting a lot of individuals our age.
Yeah.
A lot of that we've had to heal from that maybe even cause trauma or cause dysfunction. I'm going to throw this question out there. Even though this is traditional versus contemporary, old school versus new school. One of the things that I've commonly heard in just conversation is that our parents did the best they could with what they had. But I often hear it from people who said, in a sense, that, well, I don't need to go to therapy because my parents did the best they could with what they had, and I just have to deal with whatever it was. Do you all feel that sometimes that phrase could be used as a crutch, not to get the help, the healing that you need, and or I just don't want to really deal with and recognize the trauma associated with the things that I went through because it may not have been good parenting?
I think to just kind of start with an area of why people really don't want to address, because we're talking about old school versus new school. In old school, what happens in this house stays in this house, right? We don't talk about our stuff. We don't talk about the argument that mama and daddy just had, or that mama and grandma just had a fist fight kind of thing. We don't talk about that thing because it happened behind closed doors. And how dare you, if you dare, to go out there and tell somebody about what is going on or what has taken place. So I think there's a lot of generational misunderstandings.
Okay.
On when you think about that, in the sense that if I experience that and I go to school and I haven't gotten any sleep because I'm tired, because they've been up arguing and fussing and fighting all night. And so I'm at school, I put my head down, I'm sleeping, and the teacher like, okay, Yanika, what's going on with you? Why aren't you awake? I'm getting in trouble at school because I'm not paying attention. I'm not alert, all of the things. And I am just like held to that silence. You better not say nothing. You better not say nothing. You better not say nothing. You say something, and she gonna tell your mama, and you gonna go home, and you gonna get a whooping.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about whoopings. So and I don't know, I ain't trying to, but old school, since we're in the old school, or the traditional, as we, call it, on a more professional term, generally, a lot of individuals speak about whoopings and how they obtain whoopings. So from a therapist perspective, not that we're trying to tell the parents how to parent, but let's just look at some of the tools that individuals was used to get whooped with. And do we feel that could potentially tie to what we were speaking about in the last show when it comes to trauma?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
I would say, in my experience, if I could say it that way, it was set up to create fear. You know what I mean? Not breed respect, but create fear. So I wouldn't do whatever that thing was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Again, if they understood, the parents, if they understood that created fear, then maybe they wouldn't do it.
Right.
But that's what they had.
Right.
Back
Right.
to, what you were saying earlier. They did the best that they could do.
But we said earlier before the show on how that kind of went back into slavery. That was used as a mechanism to keep you in check, so to speak. So compliant, so that you don't step outside of your boundary or outside the line. They use that as a tool to instill that fear. I mean, we think about it. We've watched the slavery movies and things like that.
Right.
Some of us had our ancestors, all of our ancestors experienced it. And so going back and reading and watching those things, we see how they use whoopings to keep them in line, to keep them from going even to the next yard.
Yes.
It was almost like dogs, if you will. Like we're going to use this tool to make sure we keep you bound. And what did we do? We continued that with our children. How crazy is that?
I think we didn't see each other as, if you from that perspective, we were no longer humans. We were being trained.
Yes.
We were being groomed. And so I think sometimes, like with old school parenting, they didn't see their children as children, right? You just had to do what I told you to do. Right?
Yes.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
Wow. So what would you say that the concept was then? Like, if I don't see my child as my child, how am I viewing them? What do I see?
You know what? That could be something you look at from many different angles. If you really go back down to the generations where they were doing that as a form of slavery, the parents could have been looking at it as that this is my way of admonishing you before the master does it. I'm teaching you this now so that maybe you don't suffer at the hands of that person and worse later on. Or could it be one of those generational things that is passed down because somebody did it to me? I'm going to do it to you. And it just keeps going straight down
Is that where
one.
that saying comes from that says, this is gonna hurt me
More than it's
gonna
gonna hurt you.
Mm.
Ooh,
Wow.
How is that though? Like I've heard that.
Wow.
It's like, make
Wow.
that make sense for me.
Yeah.
How is this gonna hurt you more than it's hurt me? I'm the one up under the belt,
Yeah.
or the switch,
You
or
ain't
the
right.
stick, or the pipe, or whatever it is that you're using
Mm-hmm.
as your tool in that moment. How is it gonna hurt you more?
Mm.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's-
So it's gonna hurt me to do this to you, even though it's gonna hurt you.
Right.
But what did you learn from it?
Right.
Like, what did you gain from
Nothing.
that type of discipline? That's not even discipline. Discipline means to teach.
Mm-hmm.
The definition.
You
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
disciple.
Right.
And it's to teach. That didn't teach us anything but to fear. That's it.
Mm.
But is that the lesson though?
Well, I think in some cases it was, and it transpired into something that was very different. Different because, as you said, if you watched your mom and dad have an argument in the middle of the night, and then you went in and say, Mom, Dad, I can't sleep because y'all are arguing, then you got a little spanking, you got a whooping, whatever the case may be. Now you fear stepping in whenever anything is being said.
Wow.
If you didn't get good grades in school, you got a whooping. Now it brought on anxiety for you every time you took a test. And so now you're not doing as well. We have to look at the second, third, fourth order effects of things. And I think a long time ago, some individuals knew that. But I think as African Americans, they did not see that far down the line.
Right. Wow, that is really disciplined, old school. So just kind of counterbalancing with the contemporary, the new school. Some of the things, and I don't know what you all have heard, but some of the things that I've heard from the younger parents than us is, well, no, I'm not whooping my children. I let them, which is good to let them have a voice. But let's kind of flip to some of the other things. Children running around, they've been doing it for years. Kids are going to be kids. Got it. But how many of you all have been in a restaurant or a store, little Jimmy way over here, and the parents is over here, or Kenya and I went out to eat. And this was the saddest thing that I've seen, and I don't judge people, but you had the mom sitting here, the dad sitting here, they were in the booth, they were on their phones like this. The little kid was running all up and down the table, eating food off the floor, crawling off, coming back. There was I understand you don't have to whoop and discipline the way that we did, but they were so far disengaged with that child that they were in their own world because they hear whatever's on social media is more important. And the child is somebody could have snatched that child and they wouldn't have known. Because we're not talking to each other as mom and dad, husband and wife, because we're here and the kid is in La La Land. So what do you all think, since we were raised under the old school, the traditional system, what do you all think about this new age parenting, as they call it?
I call it collective versus individual parenting.
Okay.
Collective parenting under that old school framework was that everybody in that community had a right to say something to that child in order to keep that child safe, correct, within a certain standard, because they wanted the best for you out of life. So if I did something at Uncle Nero's house, before I even got back home, it was already there waiting on me. And so you might have got a spanking there, you got one there, then you go walk back down there and apologize and then come back and hear some more stuff about it.
Right.
Nowadays, it's more individualistic. You don't need to say nothing to my child. That's my child. I'm raising you. You put your hands on them, it's going to be this, that, and other. And I can understand that to a point, but from an individual standpoint, it goes back to what Shan was saying. People have become complacent in life. And so while I only want to raise my child, how am I going to raise them when I'm stuck in front of a cell phone or a computer? They're doing whatever they're going to do. And then when someone says something, you get mad about it when they're really just trying to assist you. So that is no longer there. People take things for granted. People kind of look at their kids and say, that'll never happen to my child until it happens to their child. Go ahead, go to the bathroom. Our daughter is 15 years old. She still don't go to the bathroom without her.
She said, "Come on, mommy. I gotta go to the bathroom."
Yeah.
We battle buddy system, as we say in the military.
Yes. My son is 18, my youngest son. If he says he has to go to the bathroom, I'm not going to go with him, but I'm going to be somewhere close to that door because nowadays you just don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And I will look out for another person's child within reason.
Right.
I am not going to put my hands on them. I may not even say that, but if I see a child going to the bathroom by themselves, I'm not going to, hey, look, I'm right. No, I'm going to stay around and make sure nobody's not. And that is a world that we have been losing out on because people are starting to say, I need to stay in my own business. That's not about me. And I'm going to step away. Whereas before, you didn't hear about all these kids getting kidnapped and sex trafficking, all that stuff.
Because people were watching.
Yes.
Right.
So I think it has to be more of a collective effort. Then the last thing I say is this. I'm going to take it to a educational format. And I think people have got the system backwards. I love teachers. I think a lot of them are underpaid, but I think a lot of parents send their kids to school so that the teachers can raise them.
Send them to church so the church can raise them anyway.
Or the screen.
Yes. Yes.
The screen, the cell phones, the iPads, and all of the things. We had a conversation about this earlier, Rachel, last night with how old our kids were when they got a cell phone. And they had to be entrusted to get that cell phone. So we started them off with the flip phone. You didn't get nothing fancy. Right. They were middle school when they got these cell phones. They didn't do right by the first time they had them cell phones. We took them. They were gone for a year and a half. They did not have a cell phone. I think before they went to high school, they probably got a cell phone, but then there was rules behind having that cell phone. It was only to be used when you weren't in the presence of your family or your mom, your dad. If you needed to reach somebody because you were at practice and needed to be picked up. That phone was not to come out your book bag at school. That phone was not to be out while you were in church. When you were at home, that phone was on the countertop. You didn't go to bed with your phone in your head or plugged up on your side table. It was on the countertop. Bedtime wasn't at
1 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
No.
Even for our high schoolers, that phone had to be on our countertop at 10:30. No less than 10:30.
What about that password? The PIN code?
Oh, you know that No, that was one thing I told my kids. You will have your privacy to a certain extent. If your door is closed, I will not, because I want to give you that respect.
Right.
I want you to give me that respect. But when we don't really close doors around here unless we change your clothes. Unless if you're in the bathroom, I can see that door being closed. But doors around here don't get closed. Just because you in your room, chill.
No isolation.
No, door open. And we had that family time. We had that time where we were all sitting down eating together, because that is considered an old school type of thing. Nobody was doing that. Nobody really does that anymore. We got this fast food. We get these kids in and out, and I get it. They have things that they're involved in. They got all of these extracurricular activities that is going on. I get it. But at what point do you stop allowing other things to parent your children and you step in and begin to parent?
Absolutely.
So that's the question I want to just pose. How do we get back to the collective perspective? How do we as a nation start to look out for one another, right? How do we get back to carving out family time? Because you're right. Like I would say I'm a new age mixed with tradition, right? Because our lives are fast, right? I get off of work, it's go time. You got karate, softball, football, et cetera, et cetera. So how do we get back to looking out for one another, even though I don't know your name, right? Because, we only look out for those that you know, but we need to be looking out for all these kids out here, because you don't know, right? Like, so how do we get back? How do we get back to this?
I think coming from a perspective of identity is really integrating that empathy and understanding between traditional and contemporary or old school versus new school, taking those things that were built from the traditional aspect and incorporating them into the contemporary. Not dismissing them and saying, well, the way y'all did it didn't work. But that's the foundation. It's very key that we use foundational things to help us, to cultivate the new things. And not to say that the old was better than the new or the new is better than the old, but we can integrate the two and begin to understand. But I think what you were asking is, how do we as a collective people back to that and come back to that type of understanding? We first got to be okay with who we are. I'm not who we are.
Absolutely.
It starts with us. If I don't agree with the traditional style, why not? What happened to me? We go back to the book. Well, what happened to me? Why is my thought process like this? Why do I feel this type of way about that? And why do I think this other way works better? Without really having the evidence to back it up.
Right.
Kind of. So, yeah.
I think it's definitely, like you said, the mindset, because that's what I was thinking too. So say for me, what I generally say is that there are some things that I didn't like when it came to parenting. However, I grew up under the collective, so I would respect my elders. I knew better. I would have to say, number one, yes, we can come together on one accord as a collective, as a nation, a world, or whatever, but it has to start in the home. I think we need to get back to it starting in the home, meaning for our children, they knew, hey, because this is something that I hear I guess you say new age parenting. I don't know. I'm still trying to learn it. But the new schools, the contemporary, is they'll set up and say, well, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. No, I'm not teaching my kids that, because I've heard it say, well, that's slavery. Well, that may have been the case. But one of the things that we have always taught our children is this day and age. And our oldest son, off in the military, and he doesn't say it just because he's in the military, but he came back and said, Mama, you know what? It actually worked, because we do allow our kids, come on now, we allow our kids to ask us questions, because we couldn't do that. That was old school. You get the taste buds slapped out your mouth, okay? Because you sassing and being disrespectful. When 9 times out of 10, I believe that the parent or adult, even when it came to the word of God, that's your corner though. Why does the Bible say this? I would get in trouble in church because you don't question God. I'm not questioning God. I'm asking you a question about God. Yeah. But I would have respected the old school to say, I don't know. I don't know. And so going back to the yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am with our children, I was like, listen, if you say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and you are polite, when you go out, those who were raised a certain way, they're going to respect you and give you more favor than you ever got, because the immediate thought is your parents raised you right. That is the immediate thought. And our son came in, he said, oh my God, Mama, that is so right. We got one now in the house that's questioning. And I'm like, I always say, life is a teacher. Because see, a lot of the younger kids, the newer generation, I got Google and YouTube. I can go, and like we always say, Google and YouTube don't teach you everything. You got wisdom sitting amongst you. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So, okay, you got Google and YouTube. And I always tell my kids when they don't want to listen, life is a teacher. It'll teach you, because you're going to have to come back to what your parents were teaching you. Yeah. So before we can go on a community level, before we can go on a state, we can go on a nation, we got to start in our own house. Yeah. We got to quit letting everything else parent our children. Yeah. We have to sit down and have conversations. We have to, as she said, check in with them every day. Baby, my kids, I pick them up. Let me tell you, I'm sorry I got comfortable, but I am professional. But let me tell you, they cannot wait to get home to tell me how the day went. They cannot wait. And I think it's very important, especially with our Children and grandchildren being in the age where the school shootings and all these different things, I don't have to beat you, but I want the parents to ask themselves this. If your child does not feel comfortable enough to come to you when something is wrong and have a conversation, ask yourself why.
That's a good point. My previous job that I had, we went out in a lot of the middle schools and high schools in the local area, and we talked to the kids a lot, specifically about suicide. And one of the things that they constantly said on a regular basis is our parents don't listen. It's
These are the children saying
the children saying that. It's not that they don't want to comply. Sometimes they don't understand why something is happening. So sometimes I believe parents have to be flexible enough to really explain things out to the kids so that they can get a better understanding of it. So it's that education, it's communication, it's flexibility. And I want to focus on that communication part because of the simple fact that some parents don't know how to communicate.
That is so because
They all
we got it right here. And that was the thing too, what you were saying. How do we come together as a nation, bridge that gap?
Yeah.
It's gonna take enhancing that communication. We have to learn how to talk to one another and not talk at someone, but talk and not talking to respond. Oh my God. Effective listening.
Active listening, right?
Active listening.
Yes.
You're not listening to respond, you're listening to get an understanding. There is a difference. There is a difference. We also, like you, to your point, flexibility. We have to demonstrate flexibility and adaptability.
Right.
That's the other thing, is to learn that while traditional work in some aspects, there are some things in new school that may be working, but we got to be adaptable. We got to figure out what works for us and not what works for everybody else. That's another thing.
That's
another.
That takes me to my tip. This is my tip, right? Parent from a healed place, right? So what you're saying is key. If I grew up and I didn't have a voice, and then I have a child who wants to talk to me, it's uncomfortable because I don't know what to say. I don't know how to deal with that because I don't have a voice. But now you do. That's disrespectful to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my point is that we have to parent. So we first have to heal, learn how to communicate, learn how to have active listening. So then we can parent from the place of what our child needs, not what we need.
Wow.
Right? Not what we needed as that little girl who was silent.
That's
Right. Absolutely right.
Man, this is so
I
good.
mean, y'all, I wrote it down in my
Come on.
In the book of Proverbs, the wisdom book.
Oh, here it goes.
Come on, right?
I already know what she's going to say.
Right, and I'm just gonna say it in part. And it
Go
says,
ahead.
in all thy getting, get understanding.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Understanding you, understanding your kids, understand the context that you're in. Get that understanding.
Yes.
Wow.
So important. So
Yeah. I think another thing individuals have to understand is that you can't put this out there and expect your kids to be raised by that.
Wow.
Buying them everything that they want, giving them everything that keeps them busy so they're out of your hair, not attending their games and functions to show them that you care about what it is that they're trying to do. And Nikki, what you had said about that flexibility, if you don't have any flexibility, then how do you expect your kids to have flexibility?
Right.
When they're trying to navigate life and they've never went through anything hard, they've never had to figure anything out, you sitting there talking about them like a dog, but you ain't never showed them anything.
Let me read this to y'all. You know,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
All right.
Okay, this is from the CDC. And
Yes,
it says,
CDC.
parenting is a process that prepares your child for independence.
Wow.
Ooh,
Preparation.
How many are out there who are not being taught or have failure to launch because of
Lunch. I ain't heard that since college. Lunching.
we are failing our children and setting them up to go out and be successful.
That's true.
It's wow.
Well, I think people get comfortable because things have been made easier for us. See, way back in the day, you had to change the oil up under a shade tree. And nowadays they don't do that.
Take shade treatment candy.
Take it down to Quick Lube and you can do that. You know, I'm not going to teach you how to cook because you can go to Walmart and get a microwavable meal.
Oh,
Meal prep.
There you go. Nobody is taking the time out to really teach the kids like that anymore. Now, I don't know how many of y'all follow us on Facebook, but we hope y'all will be doing it, YouTube and all that stuff. But
All the socials.
I know my wife, well, we were at home one day and I told my kids, hey, everybody get up because today we're making homemade sausage. And I teach them how to make homemade sausage, bacon. I can probably take one of mine out there and show them how to skin a deer. They know how to do stuff like that.
Right.
The older generation is not teaching those individuals anything. And when you don't pass things down from generation to generation, you lose things. And the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So if you're not showing knowledge, how are they ever going to be able to perform when you're gone? Because you ain't going to always be here.
But then on the flip side, just for the elders as well, I've heard a lot of the older people say, I try to teach them, but they don't listen.
Yeah.
Or they act like they know everything. And so you're right.
Life is a teacher.
Life is the teacher. And what's kind of weird, I will say, that I'm seeing this day and age is a lot of the generations that are present in this day and time don't realize the blessing that they had in the elders and the wisdom of the elders until they're gone.
Yeah.
Until they're no longer here.
Yeah.
Then you at the funeral, big crying, falling over the casket, stuff they used to say back in the day, you acting all out of character because you're realizing what you could have gained by who's laying right there in that coffin. And so when it comes to the parenting styles, I would personally say you're going to parent your child however you want to parent your child. But what I'm finding is this. I am finding parents, the spirit of jealousy is something. Oh, you hear me? I am finding parents who we were best friends. Let's say we were best friends. Well, she got a best friend. I got a best friend. But so I'm not talking about, but say we grew up best friends and we're supposed to be able to tell each other everything. And so it's like, you're telling me as my best friend, my sister, hey sis, when it comes to my nephew, because we adopt kids. When it comes to my nephew, you might not want to do this or well, you don't tell me. You take care of your kid and parent your kid the way you do it. And then her 20 years down the line, God forbid, not to say this is always the case, but I'm just giving a scenario. Then God forbid, mine is in jail because I wasn't parenting. I wouldn't listen to wisdom because sometimes we as parents can't see everything. Yeah. You may see something, or maybe you made them, hey, I made this mistake with my child. You don't want to go down that road because yours was a little bit older. And so it's such a great disconnection, which is doing the kids a disservice. Yeah. And so that's why, like when we were growing up, you go to school, to this day, somebody could say, this was my favorite teacher. Yeah. I remember Miss Jones. She was my guidance counselor. Miss Jones, if you're listening, I love you. I've been trying to find you. But this lady made me, for example, take the ASVAB test. I'm transparent because we're counselors, know everything and haven't been through anything. But I had some challenging upbringing. And so this lady called me in, you gonna take the ASVAB test. Miss Jones, I don't want to take the ASVAB. I didn't want to get the test slapped in the mouth either, but you are going to take the ASVAB. I don't know what this lady seen, but I needed that ASVAB in order to get into the military. That was the best thing. She didn't tell me you're going to take it so you go into the Army. No, you're going to take it. She was teaching me, now I see it, wisdom, to have that in my back pocket as a tool. So even if it's not that I can't talk to my parents, I had someone else who was watching out. And so I will say this, new age parenting, contemporary, listening, everybody's not out to hurt your child. You have a village. Now, let me ask, if I can, that we all kind of go through so the people know that we are real in this thing. We live in this thing just like they are, and we've learned some things. But if we can all kind of go through and talk about our parenting style, for those of us who have to be grandparents, how are you with your child versus your grandkids or whatever? So we'll start with you, Mr. King, and we can come on around.
Wow, I've had different styles for different children. My oldest daughter, that was my heart. She couldn't do no wrong.
No wrong.
But I would lay that smack down if I had to. But I groomed her in a sense where she really understood, even at 2-3 years old, what I was trying to do for her and treating her accordingly. My next two sons, in the military likewise, but I was that authoritative role. It was get it done. If you ain't, you go get the wrath of God put down on you. And they both were just like, okay, whatever. One of them was like, Dad, I don't understand why you're doing this. The other one would sit there and look at you like, what? This don't even faze me. Right? My next son came along, and I tried to use that authoritative role, but I realized really quickly he wasn't that type of child that was going to accept that.
Right.
And so with him, it's like, you got to break everything down. Son, I want you to write this on a piece of paper. Why I got to write it on the paper? How did the paper come to be? Oh, it came from a tree. How did they cut the tree down? That was him. And then when my daughter came along, it was absolutely nothing. That was probably the easiest one because she sat there and watched all them mess up. So now,
so she learned vicariously.
Right. Really, with her, I'm more of that new school parenting. What is it that you're thinking? What is it that you want to do? Yeah, I have my thoughts of what I want you to do, potentially, and where I want you to go to school at, but it's more of an open conversation. And all of that was very different from how I was raised, being raised by a single parent. And my mom was like, I brought you in this world. I take you out. You go do it. I tell you to do. I'm trying to do it in your best interest. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate a lot of the things that my mom did. But at the same time, there were some things there that I look back on it now that I didn't understand then that I wish could have been changed. But learning all that and having an open mind, I knew how to decipher what I was going to do to raise my kids.
That's so good. I would say I'm a mixture of both new and old. And it took a while for me to figure out, and I'm still learning. So let me say that. I am still learning what works for my kids. But me and my husband, we share this phrase, and that is, we prepare our kids for the road. We don't prepare the road for the kid.
Oh,
right. So we try to prepare them to what you will encounter, what might happen, right? We train them now. I send my daughter in, go pay for the gas now. Go to the store and buy this. Use my debit card, use my pen, do that. I'm watching you. Son, go pump the gas, right? But early when they were younger, we did discipline by whippings, right? But then we realized that we can have a conversation and I can take away your TV privilege. I can take away going outside privilege. I don't necessarily have to beat you for you to listen. I need to teach you what I want you to understand. And so we do active listening. I say, now repeat back to me what you just heard me say. Right. So I know that you and I are on the same page. So next time when it happens, for instance, I had to rule my daughter. Hey, something didn't go right. And I said, the phone is mine for the whole day. She already knew. She said, am I in trouble? We can talk about it later. But she already knew the expectation was already set, right? And even with my son, I said, son, we were traveling. We was on the phone. We were traveling. And I said, hey, use the restroom. You stand right here, okay? When I come out, we can all walk outside together. I come out, I'm just waiting because I expect for him to be where he's supposed to be. My son came from around the corner. We were at the gas station. I said, where were you? He said, oh, I'm just looking at the toys. And so when we got to the car, I said, son, you don't understand. Yes, I don't want. He said, well, nobody's going to take me. That's not the point.
Right.
It's trust. When you get older, you're going to want me to trust you to let you borrow my car. You're going to want me to trust you to go outside and go to our next door neighbor's house. But if I can't trust you to stand or ask you to stand, that's more detrimental than you not being able to go outside, because when you get older, you want bigger things. I can't trust you. So I say it's a mixture, right? I have a mixture.
And I like what you said there about preparing them for the road. Because, simple and plain, you want to show them how to change the tire before they get the flat. You'd be surprised how many people that nowadays cannot change a flat tire on the side of the road. So I think that is a good way to look at it, is preparing them for a lot of things that they may see early on. That way, when it hits them, it's not so it's not a shock to them. They don't get that anxiety behind, what do I do now? At least they've got an idea. So I think that's a good idea.
Well, I would say my parenting style is definitely a combination of old school and new school, if I could say it that way. I would even go as far as to say, initially I was a single parent. And so in that regards, I felt like I had to be a little more firm, a little more stern, a little more pointed on my guidance, my discipline. And so my daughter, bless her heart, she's 25 now. But so she kind of got the brunt of the whole militant, not listening, my way or the highway, piece of it. I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and they have, I would say, the more gentler Larisha as it stands right now. But my husband and I, we parent from a place of not parenting from our adversity. If that makes sense. So my husband, he's a little older. And so, he's quick to tell the kids, when I was your age, I was picking peaches. 5 cents a barrel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, then, we would go back and we would talk about it. And I'm like, honey, That was your experience.
Right, right,
You know what I
right.
mean? That was your space. That was your experience. It's not like that now.
Yeah.
They don't, they don't go through those things now. It's a whole other animal, a whole other
They got
level.
machines that pick details.
But yeah, so we don't move from a place of adversity. And I think you shared earlier, parenting from that healed place.
Yes.
And that's how we're moving. So
That's
we
good.
shifted from the militant style to the more, I would say, open, ready to listen. Not always, but
Right.
ready to listen, ready to understand, and try to get to the heart of, what I mean, what they're experiencing.
Mhm.
So,
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
It's funny because your story sounds a little bit similar to mine when it comes to the husband, the way he teaches our children. But my parenting style, I would say, is kind of a mixture. I started out very military style, like again, my way or the highway. This is how I want it done. This is how it needs to be. This is how you're gonna get it done. If you can't get it done my way, then we got a problem, type of thing. So I think also too, what I learned is that my parenting style with each child was different. Like you were saying, Kenya, there were certain things that you couldn't do with everyone the same because they were not the same child. Even though I had two boys the same age growing up together, I couldn't treat them like one person because one required more and at one particular time of their life than the other did. And then I had a daughter. Of course, with the daughter, she's more spoiled, but I think I was a little bit more harder on her because also that was my experience. My mom was hard on me. I feel like she babied my brothers a little bit too much. And she was hard on me. Like the expectation was different. And I get it because she wanted me to be better. She wanted me to be better than her. And how can you get that? She's a woman. She's not a man, so she can't expect her boys to be better than her. But here's his daughter. She got having that expectation. But I think too, I know there was a shift in how I began to parent and how I began to talk to them when like you talked about, coming from that healed place. When I began to go through my own journey of healing, I began to relate to my children differently. There was a lot of things that I was, oh my God, I wish I could redo that because I would have handled it differently. I would have did something totally different. But it's what I knew at that time. And this is where we find like those cycles, we're breaking cycles when it comes to the generational things. I was doing things the way that I learned to do it. And so as I began to grow, as I began to heal, I shifted. And then when I began to understand too what it meant to not just be in touch with who I am, I was in touch with how other people might perceive or how other people were engaging with me, that version of me. And I thought about my kids. I'm like, I don't want my kids to see me like this. I don't want them to engage with me at this level. I need them to know that they can come to me. They can talk to me. They can tell me whatever it is that's bothering them. But if I'm closed off and I'm shut down and I'm mad all the time, they ain't gonna want to come and tell me anything. Like you said, to the point of those kids, I can't talk to my parents because they won't listen. So I had to shift. If I wanted to have a relationship with them, I was going to have to parent differently.
Right.
And so now I talk to my kids. We don't regular call. We FaceTime call. My boy's about to be 27 this year. My daughter is 24. Our phone calls are FaceTime. I don't care what they doing, what's going on. They know. If I don't answer my phone, I'm in trouble because Mama, why you didn't answer my call? I called you. So we have that relationship now. We have that dynamic that we can talk. They know that I am there to listen and I'm not there to judge. I'm there to give guidance if this needed. But most of the time it's there now to just listen, to hear what they're going through, to hear what it is, because they might just want to talk it out.
Right.
You know, and so if I'm always in that mama mode, you do what I say, do how I say, do it. We don't have nothing. It's gonna always be bumping heads kind of thing. So I can definitely say my parenting style has shifted.
I would just jump in just real quick. But I would say it looks different when you're parenting the babies, the teens, and now young adults. The relationship is different.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Dynamics change.
It's completely different.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. For me, very transparent. I parented a lot from my environment that I came from, which was survival. So growing up in the hood, many can be familiar. I went from that to being a single military parent to being a married dual military couple. So for all you military out there, yes, we are this, you can chime into this. And then for those, because we were talking about this, of course, because many of us that are on here are veterans and so have served in the military. Our commonality is the United States Army, not to put y'all's business out there. But with that being said, when you're a dual military couple and you have children, how it often works is he would go to the field for 30 days. So that leaves me as a single parent. We're high-fiving each other. He coming in from the field, taking care of soldiers and then taking care of our children. So that's how our dynamic worked. It was very hard. So for me, growing up from the hood, going military, very authoritative, I was the Medea. That's who I was. Like, I love my children. I will be there. But notice I said I was the Medea. And then when I started doing healing work on myself, like, wait a minute. I heard myself saying things that I didn't even like growing up to my kids. So I was like, wait a minute, I didn't like that. So as I started dealing with my own trauma and different things, then I seen a healthier version. I seen my children as little people instead of little soldiers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So instead of coming at them with the knife hand, as we were laughing about in Rhode Island, coming at them with the knife hand, I could come. But then it's also what you all were saying. Each child is not the same. And I never liked that. I'm the oldest. So I don't think my siblings feel like my parents compared them to me, but I learned that each child is different. So like Kenya was saying about our daughter, her personality, if she feels, not that you said anything, that she's disappointing you, tears is coming down her face. Because I don't want to be a disappointment. So you can't raise your voice at her. You know what I'm saying? Whereas our oldest son would tell you, nope, I needed that whooping. I was bad. You know what I'm saying? He was the challenging one, but he said, just like he recently said, everything my mom and dad did, I needed that because it built me. But he can say that as a 27-year-old man with his own family. So I'm hoping as we went through our different parenting styles that you all took something from, that piece of it and can kind of identify yourself with each one of us. Now, the grandparents in the room. This is funny because I don't know if y'all's children ever said this. When I was a child, you did it, but let little so-and-so come along. Like the kids say on the meme, now you got McDonald's money? You didn't have when I was growing up. Yeah. We had McDonald's at the house or whatever. So real quick, what would you all say as grandparents, you see the difference between your parenting versus grandparenting style?
I would, if I could start off, I would say mine is much more gentler style. Like I discipline. They're gonna know that Mimi is stern. She means what she say. You're gonna do what she tell you to do. But I talk. I listen. I am listening for how they feel. I am asking all the questions that I did not ask my own children. Right. Those questions of understanding their communication or their communication style, as well as their emotions that they're feeling, because that wasn't something that was really taught, or I didn't understand what's emotions and all the different emotions. If y'all knew how many emotions there really are out there, oh my God, I know we use like a common 5, but it's probably like 60, 70 of them out there. But I now talk to my grandkids from that point, that style. Like I am much, and then the biggest thing that I learned is getting on their level. I get eye level. Yes. I get eye level so that they can see me. And then, like you said, to your point, you asked them now repeat back to me what you heard. So when I'm talking to them, did you hear what Mimi said? Yes, Mimi, what did Mimi say? What did she tell you? And they tell me what I said. Okay, then now I know you heard me. Right. So if your behavior remains the same, then we got a bigger issue. Right. So much more gentler.
What perceive? So my grandbaby is very, very young. She's almost 4 months. So, but I perceive that as I grow and as I evolve, it will probably be the combination still. grandparenting style, I would say, if I can say it that way. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think I'll be the same way with my grandson. I can be a little strict with him, but then I can be a big teddy bear as well. But I'll tell anybody, if you want to go see me go to jail real quick, you gotta mess with him. Yeah, mess with him.
Right. And I'll just have to honestly say, I still feel that I'm the same. Even though there are newer ways that parents are trying for things and, the older ways, I just still believe, but I'm an old soul by choice, and I guess built up that way, that there are so many nuggets. Like I think about my grandparents, and I feel like my grandparents was my safe space. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's very important as parents. And that's what I've learned from a heal perspective. Because see, anybody that gets on, let me speak to you. This is Shan talking. I'm a professional. But anybody who gets on and you want to argue with us about what we're talking about, not trying to say we're right, question yourself, why are you doing that? So even more so, if you have children that are influenced by you, ask yourself, are you their safe space? Because if you're arguing with us, I would say that you're not.
That's good.
Okay. Anywho, but let me get back to what I was
No,
saying.
that's it.
So with that being said, yes, like Nikki was saying, I learned that. Thank God for University of Mary Hart Baylor. Shout out. Whoop, whoop. Okay. But I learned that in school in Belton, Texas. But anyway, I learned that in school, get down to the children's level. So even though our children were older, I do that with my grandkids. And in a Medea type way. Come here. What did Meemaw just say? What did Meemaw just say? Like they said. But it's all love.
Yeah.
And even as a parent, even though our children are older, our youngest is 15 years old, going on 50, I still look out for other people's children. I'm in the store and I see the mama over here on her phone, you argue, and this baby over here, but I see this grown man looking at your baby about to snatch it up. How I am, get mad at me if you want to as a parent, but I'm going to protect your child. And then if I have to get with you, I'll do that later. But this baby is what's important. So your question that you had said earlier, I still see the village.
Yeah.
I still see the village. It's going to be in me. And I pray and hope that those who are around me and my children would do the same thing for others.
Yeah.
So, but anybody have anything to say?
Yeah, I think that's the bigger point is, regardless of what style you choose to use, as long as you're doing it for the benefit of that child and it's being proactive instead of reactive, in a sense, I think that'll benefit. But I will say a lot towards the new age parenting, if you will. There's a lot of differences that has happened over the years that I will have to give it up to them. Because I'm telling you right now, I had my children when I did, and back then, a can of milk was like $6-7.
Right.
Now it's about 30. If I was trying to have kids now, nope. Ain't gonna happen. They're going through a lot more challenges sometimes than what we had.
Right.
Now, medical wise. Back then we was using all kinds of home remedies. Now there's a whole bunch of other stuff that they have out there where you don't have to resort to that to a certain point.
Right.
So things change over time, and sometimes parents have to be able to change with it. That goes back to that flexibility. And then the last thing that I'll say, and it's something that a friend of mine at work said, he says, this is the key to raising children. And I'm looking at him, and I'm not gonna call his name because I don't have permission. I was like, wait, hold on, man, bro. You ain't got no kids. He said precisely. He said the key to raising a child is to never forget that you were one.
Yeah. Okay.
That thing is deep. That thing is deep.
I'm not gonna write that.
Wow, I
down.
know that is deep.
Okay.
But the safe space is definitely important. And I think I can say being a parent and a grandparent, and having adult children, that's another thing. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let your children raise their children.
Yes.
Okay. Because what I'm seeing a lot of is a lot of the older generation putting your mouth on, you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. And if I was you and well, what did you do when you was their age?
You had to figure it out.
And did you listen to what the elders told you? Probably not.
You did it yourself.
So the thing is, allow them, because this is what I learned as a parent and as a grandparent. They will come back to you if they feel that you are a safe space. And they will say, okay, because listen, our oldest son is mama. Okay, so when it came to you and daddy, because him and his wife is in the same situation, they're both dual military. So when it came to you and daddy, blah, 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 blah. And I start laughing. Now, I will tell you to kind of answer my question because I didn't finish off early, but it's okay because we almost to the end. I used to always say, and I do still say this, do you want the hood mama or the save mama to answer that? Because that lets me know the level of, that is just me, of realness that I'm about to give you. Because the hood mama gonna give it to you. So but the saved mama's gonna be a little bit more gentle, like I know the Lord. Not gonna give it to you, cousin, no. But you know what I'm saying? So kind of, I would say, gauge, allow them to raise their children, allow them to make them say, as long as the child is not being in danger.
Right.
Then that's what it is.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I want to, one of the last things I wanted to say, because I know we were talking about village and still being that village out there that people see, their safety first.
Yeah.
Number one,
Yes.
safety
Always.
first, because
Yes.
we're seeing so many things that people are really, really devious. They're using children to gain access to other people, to snatch people up. So you want to be careful on being that village. Not to say that you need to, should I help them or should I not? Just be mindful. Be mindful of when you are out here being a village for someone. I also wanted to kind of wrap up what I've been hearing, that common theme when it comes to old school versus new school, traditional versus contemporary, is that you have to come from a healed place. You need that healing in order for you to fully be able to show up as your true self. So if you are going to, whichever method you choose, just make sure you are healed in that method.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So this has been good, y'all.
Yeah.
This has really, really been good. I feel like we could keep going. It seems like it's never enough time.
Right,
We got more stuff to say. So if y'all have any questions, or if y'all feel like you want this to continue on, just let us know. Put it in the comments. Let us know some of the topics that you might want us to talk about as well. Some of the things that you are struggling with, and you like, I would love to get their perspective on that. So put it in the comments. Let us know. While you're doing that, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you know when we posted our next video. And we'll see y'all the next time. Until then, talk, therapy, and heal.